do a great job. Like I said, if you have someone who is able-bodied and able to walk, not need transfers, maybe they use a walker, but are still able to get up and down out of a chair and sit into a car. Serving our seniors would be a great option. They'd be great. And it's obviously very inexpensive because it is a volunteer-based organization.
Hi everyone, I'm Lexie Callies. Do you feel the squeeze of caring for an elderly loved one and school-aged children? Then welcome to the Sandwich Stories. Let's dig in.
Hiya, hi everybody. It's Lexie Callies with Sandwich Stories. I hope you're having a really great week. And today I want to talk about transportation. I feel as if a lot of people don't think about this. And when it comes to the elderly or the disabled, sometimes they can't drive, sometimes they don't have a car anymore, but they need to get out. And they don't have a loved one to drive them on a regular basis. My mother's facility does not have a transportation appointment set up for residents. And frankly, I don't think a lot of them should be able to go anywhere by themselves. They would need a caregiver with them. But there are some people who live in more independent living facilities, or they have more abilities to be able to go out and go to an appointment, and they need a car. Or sometimes they're just disabled, not that they're elderly or that they are impaired, but they're just disabled and they need to be able to get out also. And it's not easy if you have a wheelchair, or if you want to be able to have your loved one go somewhere with someone who you think is going to be safe. I mean, that's the other part. Not just wheelchairs. Wheelchairs we're going to get into because that's not an easy thing to find. And like I said, to have an elderly person be able to transfer into a car by themselves, whether they use a walker, or sometimes they do have a wheelchair and they're able to transfer on their own. But still, is it going to be able to hold the wheelchair? These are all things that I've started thinking about. My mother obviously does not drive anymore and hasn't for quite some time. And I drive her everywhere, but I'm able to do that. Others have asked, I know people have asked where I live, they've asked around town. What do I do? I don't live in town. I'm busy. I work, but my father needs to get to an appointment. How do I get them there? What do I do? So I was looking into this. There's a couple options, and they're not all that great, to be honest, in my personal opinion. So with that said, we're going to go with the first one. People are going to think Uber. Call Uber, call Lyft. Let's do that. Okay, Uber does have an option. It's called Uber WAV. So Uber WAV. And that is wheelchair accessible vehicle. This is a special option in Uber. And of course, the cost too. What is it going to cost? So you can order an Uber WAV through your Uber app, and the cost is going to be equivalent to their lowest rated or lowest ranking vehicle, an Uber X. This is what it would cost. So that kind of determines when, where, the cost. It could be anything, right? So, and is there one around? So I think it'd be one of those. I think we're going to have a theme here: scheduling, right? You can't just assume that you're going to be able to call day of and be able to get one of these rides. You have to schedule it. The people who do drive for Uber Wave do have to complete a certificate through a third party to be able to help safely move somebody in and out of their wheelchair accessible vehicle. So that is something that Uber Wave offers. Cost, I can't tell you because it's Uber. It goes up and down depending on time of day, availability, things like that. But it is the same pricing as Uber X. So there's that. There is another company called Z Trip. It's like a taxi service. They do have a wheelchair van that you're able to order ahead of time. But it runs like a taxi. So you'll have to call ahead of time, order the taxi. It will come to you. It's a 250 to 350 base, and then 250 to 350 per mile wherever they're going. This, yet again, though, does not guarantee that this person is going to help your loved one get in and out of the van. I would think so, but no one's going to go into an appointment. These are just drop off services like this. Z Trip and Uber Wave are like taxis. They're not going to go in with the building. They're just going to pick up your loved one, drop them off, and off they go. So there's that. Some of them you can call. You don't have to have the app. That's the other thing. A lot of these are now app based, or you're calling ahead of time, but then, can your loved one still use a phone properly? Who's helping them making schedules? Are you making the schedule for them? These are kind of some of these questions when it comes to the elderly. Like, you don't want them to languish and be at home by themselves, but there has to be a very high level of trust when you use these services for your loved ones and be able to schedule it. All right. Another one is called iMedic. This is they will drive your loved one to dialysis or hospital appointments, so doctor's appointments. And then also they do have an option to take your loved one like around, to an event. So yet again, these are non-medical transports. They have wheelchair accessibility, but you have to make the appointment 48 hours in advance. Um, you have to schedule someone to come out to where your loved one is before you ever ride with them to give an appraisal. So I'm sure that, you might think this is going to be great. They're going to come out, but then they might see your loved one and say, nope, they don't, this is not what we do, or this is too much, or whatever it is. They're going to appraise your loved one to see if it's possible to drive them where they need to go. This one, though, is 150 when it came to when I looked at their website. This is when it came to not doctor or dialysis appointment. This was something else. They did not give a cost for hospital or dialysis appointments. This one is for like just running an errand or going to a party or something like that. It was a $75 deposit and then $150 to $200 to be able, depending on how far away they had to go. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. I mean, $275 to be able to go be out and go play bridge or go to your granddaughter's birthday, whatever it is. That's crazy. I mean, that's for some people that's not accessible. That's not attainable. That could mean bills. That could mean medication. That could mean food. And they really want to participate, and they might make that choice. They might make the choice to show up to your event and spend that money and not be able to pay for their meds or their food the next week or month for that matter. I mean, they do have insurance, and I think that's because of the hospital and dialysis. So they do take insurance, and that is part of the assessment. But yet again, it's a lot of money. So that one is iMedic. And I think that's our most expensive one so far. A lot of people where I live, people ask, who do I use? They always say Catholic Charities, Catholic Charities. They literally, our local Catholic Charities van car system is they're garaged and they're housed in my town. And so I see them all the time. And I thought, Yes, Catholic Charities. They're around. I see them in the town next over. I see them drive up and down the main thoroughfare where I live. They're based in Dallas. They have based, multiple counties they're based in. Turns out you can't just call them up. So if you live where I live in the city of Colleyville. The city of Colleyville has to do a deal and help subsidize Catholic Charities to come pick up elderly people in the community. They have to subsidize $32,000 every single year for Catholic Charities to come pick up your loved one in your community. So the bigger town over in Grapevine, where I live, they subsidize. The actual town I live in, Colleyville, they do not subsidize. So if my mom needed a ride, she could not call Catholic Charities because her assisted living facility is in the city of Colleyville, and the city of Colleyville does not subsidize. And I did ask recently about this, and they said in the past they felt that the city didn't have the need. So they did not spend them. They chose that it was not a wise use of the money. And I think this needs to be reevaluated. There are more and more elderly people living in our area because they are long term residents of the town, and they are getting older. And there are also people who live here in town whose parents are moving in with them and they need the help to live in the house, but that doesn't mean they're not able to go to an appointment and they might need a ride. But where I live, not possible. Catholic Charities is not possible. This is for 65 years or older, or if they are disabled. So I would think that if you're younger than 65 and you have a disability, you could use Catholic Charities. You do have to book 2 days in advance. So yet again, scheduling only Monday through Friday, 6 to 6. That's it. And it is $250 to $325 one way. So yes, it is very accessible to the person using it if the town has decided to help subsidize Catholic Charities to come into their town. There is another one, it is a local charity here in my area called Serving Our Seniors. They do offer volunteer-based rides for seniors to go to social events, doctor's appointments, all this kind of stuff. So this is for 65 and up or 60 on Social Security disability insurance. So those are the people who qualify for this. You have to fill out an application. So hopefully you have a loved one who can go online and fill the application out online. And then, if you need a ride, you would set that up with them, but then also you would have to schedule it. It's not on demand and it's a volunteer base. So, if I was volunteering and I showed up, I don't have a wheelchair accessible car. I would have to, I mean, I help my mom transfer, and I'm sure I could help someone else transfer into my car, but that takes a lot of liability and a lot of trust on my end and on the person who's getting in the car. Um, I don't know. Well, knowing me, yes, I would. I would help somebody. Let's be honest. I would see the struggle and I would help. Who am I kidding? Um, but I'm sure there are other people who would be like, "Oh no, I can't help touch, grandma to help this person I don't know get into the car. And what if they were to fall? And then is it on me?" There's a lot of what ifs with this, and it is a volunteer base. They do a great job. Like I said, if you have someone who is able bodied and able to walk, not need transfers, maybe they use a walker, but are still able to get up and down out of a chair and sit into a car. Serving our seniors would be a great option. They'd be great, and it's obviously very inexpensive because it is a volunteer-based organization. The last one that I'm going to talk about is called Right at Home. This is actually a caretaker service so that offers rides. So you would have an account with them. They bill you. I mean, this is one of those services. Like if you needed an in-home caretaker, you needed um, a caretaker to come to your loved one's assisted living facility. That's one of these. It's called Right at Home. That's one of these organizations and companies. This one, because it is a caretaker-based situation, yet again, not on demand, right? So you would have already had to have this already set up. The caretaker arrives and takes your loved one to their appointment. They help your loved one get into the appointment. They stay with your loved one and they drive them back. And you are paying them their hourly rate because, yet again, this is a caretaker service. This is not just a ride share. This is not just a volunteer. And so then what they do is they bill your account for the hours that the caretaker was with your loved one. And so depending on that, that could be $32 an hour. A lot of them have a baseline of how many hours, and that determines how much they pay. The caretaker service my mom had in the past, 1 hour was, oh, it was expensive. I think if you just needed them for an hour, it was $50. And then it went down from there. So when my mom had them, it was, she hit their minimum. Yeah, so she was at $32.50 an hour when she had them for 4 hours or more. But 1 hour was $50, and then the 1 to 4 hours, so hour 2, 3, up to 4 was in the $40 range. And then by the time my mom hit 4 hours or more, then it was $32.50. So that can be very expensive, and are you willing to pay for that? And then yet again, it's a stranger. If it's not somebody that your loved one knows on a regular basis, that can be scary. It is nice to have someone there, but are they allowed? My question would be, would they be allowed to go into the doctor's office, like in the office with them? Or are they just waiting in the waiting room? That I would not know. But so that's the only one I found that allows a caretaker to go into the facility with your loved one and stay with them and then drive them back. But yet again, it's a caretaker service. That's their job. So this is just, it just opens my eyes that nothing when it comes to the elderly can be done spontaneously. Everything has to be planned. Everything has to be thought out. I'm sure there are some very savvy seniors out there that live in facilities that are open. They're not lockdown facilities that could call an Uber or use the app and have them come get picked up. And that Uber driver is not going to question anything. They're going to let them get in the car and drive them wherever they want to go. And then hopefully that person can get back and people know where they went. You don't know. And so but when it comes to the disabled and the people who use wheelchairs, this is not a quick and easy thing to be able to do, not a quick and easy ride. You have to schedule it. It costs a lot of money. They're mostly just taxi services, but probably a good day to 2 days advance notice and scheduling to find these. So yeah, just think about that whenever you are trying to get car service or help get your mom or your grandma to a doctor's appointment. It's tough. So, yay. So with that said, the song of the week is Know Your Worth by Khalid and Disclosure. This is not my normal vibe, I will have to say, but I do like the song. So, and I think we all, like I've always said, we all need to know our worth and stick by that. Don't let people walk all over you. Know your worth. So that's the song of the week. Know your worth, Khalid, and disclosure. I hope you all have a really great week, and I will talk to you soon. Love you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Sandwich Stories. I really hope you learned some new things and enjoyed it. If you did, tell a friend, tell your mom, tell your sister, tell your dad, tell everybody you know to also listen. Maybe they'll learn some new things, how to help each other out, and find us at Sandwich Stories Podcast. Thanks so much.